If you died on your doorstep today, where would you go? A few years ago, when I was delivering meals, and even today, I was kind of reminded of this story that came from one of our grandparents and one of our volunteers. With Meals on Wheels, we have to change our routes a lot, and we have to move grandparents from one route to another. And a few years ago, a volunteer of ours, Glenn, came in and he got really upset with me. And he said, "Why did you take Mr. Johnson off of my route?" And I said, "Well, logistically it made sense." But Glenn got so upset with me for 2 weeks in a row. He said, "Michael, you need to put this man back on my route." And I argued with him because I wanted to do the ministry and then the flow of the routes and everything like that the right way. And he said, I've been ministering to this guy for years. I need him to be on my route." And so I finally reluctantly placed Mr. Johnson back on Glenn's route. The next week he came in and he was just so happy, so full of joy that Mr. Johnson gave his life to Jesus Christ on his doorstep. Mr. Glenn proved me wrong. Now, 2 weeks after that, Glenn comes in and it's a whole different story. And Mr. Johnson had passed away in his front yard. And so today I'm delivering meals, and I'm just reminded of that story when I meet so many of these grandparents, some who know Christ, some who don't know Christ, some who don't have family but need family, some who have family but they're neglected. And really and truly, over the last few weeks, it's been just at the forefront of my mind, the story about Mr. Glenn and Mr. Johnson and the impact of Meals on Wheels. And how do we measure our success? These foundations here locally, when you're submitting grants or when you're trying to apply for grants, they always ask, how do you measure your success? And we try to measure it with the number of meals that we provide, the number of grandparents that we're serving, the fact that we're not government funded, the amount of food that we have coming in. And ultimately, all those things are great, but the true success is measured and will be measured when we go to heaven. And the success that I saw today is when I went and met with Mr. Cliff and I asked him what Meals on Wheels meant to him, and he didn't even say anything about the meals. He said, "You've been sending 2 men to me outside of the meals, and that has changed my life." Mr. Cliff has dementia, and his only wish is that his daughter and his grandkids come to know Jesus because of what Meals on Wheels has done for him, right? These 2 guys go week in, week out and sit down with Mr. Cliff outside of meals and just spend time with him and share and pray with him. And wow, man, that's just one story. That's the success. Someone who was lost and in despair now has life and the knowledge of Jesus Christ and a true transformation. And that's what they want to share with their family. These other folks, I mean, the devotionals that they get, the fact that drivers go way above and beyond what they normally should or would do outside of Meals on Wheels, they become family. People get family. We're providing family. Oh my God, you are providing family, right? You, by sowing into this ministry, are providing hundreds of thousands of grandparents here locally who don't have anybody with someone to come in and smile, sit down with them, bring them a nutritious meal, and more importantly, bring the word of God, knowledge about Jesus Christ, that they may spend forever with him in heaven and not in hell, right? So I started thinking about what the importance of what we're doing is. And it's making sure that our grandparents know who Jesus Christ is before they pass on into eternity. And you are making that possible. So just felt led to share that today. You know, it's kind of raw, unedited, who I am. But I think there's more stories to come, more stories to follow. But you guys, we can't measure success off of meals served and grandparents served. We're walking alongside these people that have nobody. And so I thank you for all your support and what you're doing to help us share Jesus.